The restaurant industry has always been a challenging and competitive space, but recent years have brought unprecedented challenges that have pushed many established chains to the brink. Today, we're going to explore 20 restaurant chains that industry experts believe might disappear from America's landscape in the coming years, and the fascinating reasons behind their potential demise. Let's start with Applebee's, a chain that's been struggling with identity issues for years. Once a neighborhood favorite, Applebee's has seen a steady decline in foot traffic since 2016. Despite attempts to rebrand and modernize, younger generations aren't connecting with their casual dining concept. They've closed hundreds of locations in recent years, and analysts predict this trend will continue as they struggle to compete with fast casual alternatives and changing consumer preferences. Ruby Tuesday is another chain that's facing an uncertain future. They've already filed for bankruptcy once in 2020, and although they emerged from it, their recovery has been tepid at best. The chain has closed more than half of its locations since 2017, dropping from 551 restaurants to fewer than 250 today. Their traditional American casual dining model seems increasingly outdated in a market where consumers are seeking either unique local experiences or quick, convenient options. Boston Market, once a pioneer in rotisserie chicken and home-style meals, has been struggling to maintain relevance. They've closed numerous locations, and their attempt to pivot to delivery and takeout during the pandemic wasn't enough to offset their losses. The chain's biggest challenge is competing with grocery stores that now offer similar rotisserie chicken options at lower prices, often as loss leaders to drive foot traffic. Buffalo Wild Wings, despite its strong brand recognition, is facing headwinds. The rising cost of chicken wings, combined with changing sports viewing habits and increased competition from delivery-only wing concepts, has put pressure on their traditional model. While they're not in immediate danger, their parent company has been closing underperforming locations and experimenting with smaller formats. TGI Fridays has been particularly hard hit by changing consumer preferences. The chain has closed numerous locations and sold others to franchisees in an attempt to stay afloat. Their casual dining concept, once revolutionary, now feels dated to many consumers. The company's attempts to modernize with virtual brands and ghost kitchens haven't generated the desired results. Friendly's, known for its ice cream and family-friendly atmosphere, has already gone through bankruptcy twice and continues to struggle. The chain has closed hundreds of locations over the past decade, dropping from over 500 restaurants to fewer than 130. Their challenge lies in competing with both modern, fast casual restaurants and specialized ice cream shops that offer more innovative products. Golden Corral, the buffet chain, faces perhaps the most challenging path forward. The buffet concept took a massive hit during the pandemic, and changing consumer attitudes about shared serving stations may have permanently damaged the business model. While they've survived so far, their future depends on whether they can successfully pivot their concept while maintaining profitability. Steak and Shake has been closing locations and converting others to counter-service-only operations in an attempt to reduce costs. Their traditional model of table service at fast food prices has become increasingly difficult to sustain with rising labor costs and changing consumer preferences. The chain's debt issues and franchise disputes have further complicated their recovery efforts. Red Robin has been struggling with declining sales and closing locations even before the pandemic. Their attempts to modernize and add delivery options haven't been enough to offset the broader trend away from casual dining. The chain's high operating costs and increasing competition from fast casual burger concepts have put significant pressure on their business model. Qdoba, despite being a relatively newer chain, has struggled to differentiate itself in the crowded Mexican fast casual space. Dominated by Chipotle, the sector has become increasingly competitive, and Qdoba's attempts to stand out haven't gained significant traction. Their parent company has been exploring strategic alternatives, including a potential sale. Perkins Restaurant and Bakery has already gone through bankruptcy and continues to face challenges. The family dining sector has been particularly hard hit by changing consumer habits, and Perkins' traditional breakfast and pie concept hasn't evolved quickly enough to meet modern expectations. Fuddruckers, once known for their customizable burgers, has been closing locations rapidly. The chain's parent company sold the brand in 2021, and while some franchise locations remain open, the concept seems to be fading as more modern burger chains capture market share. Marie Callender's has already closed many locations and filed for bankruptcy. The chain's comfort food concept and pie shops have struggled to attract younger customers, and their attempts to modernize haven't generated enough momentum to ensure long-term sustainability. Hometown Buffet and Old Country Buffet, owned by the same parent company, have already closed most of their locations. The buffet model faces significant challenges in the post-pandemic era, and these chains' traditional offerings haven't evolved to meet changing consumer preferences. Krystal, the Southern Slider chain, has been struggling to maintain relevance outside its core markets. Their bankruptcy filing and subsequent sale haven't fully addressed their underlying challenges in competing with larger quick-service restaurants. Luby's, the Texas-based cafeteria chain, has already announced plans to liquidate its assets. While some locations remain open under franchise agreements, the company's traditional cafeteria model has struggled to attract new customers. Johnny Rockets, despite its nostalgic appeal, has been closing locations and struggling to compete in the premium burger segment. Their recent acquisition by Fat Brands hasn't yet demonstrated a clear path to sustainable growth. Bennigan's has already gone through bankruptcy once and continues to struggle with relevance in today's market. Their Irish pub-themed casual dining concept hasn't successfully adapted to changing consumer preferences. Brio Italian Grill and Bravo Italian Kitchen, both owned by the same company, have gone through bankruptcy and closed numerous locations. The upscale casual Italian dining segment has become increasingly competitive, and these chains haven't successfully differentiated themselves. Looking at these chains collectively, several common themes emerge. Many are struggling with outdated business models that haven't evolved quickly enough to meet changing consumer preferences. Rising costs for labor and ingredients have squeezed margins, while increased competition from fast casual concepts and delivery-only brands has captured market share. The pandemic accelerated many of these trends, but they were largely in motion before 2020. Consumer preferences have shifted toward either unique, local dining experiences or convenient, quick-service options. The middle ground of casual dining, where many of these chains operate, has become increasingly challenging to navigate profitably. However, it's worth noting that some of these chains might survive through significant transformations. We've seen examples of successful pivots in the restaurant industry before, where brands have reinvented themselves to meet changing market conditions. The key will be their ability to adapt while maintaining enough financial stability to fund necessary changes. For consumers, these potential closures represent the end of an era in American dining, but they also reflect the dynamic nature of the restaurant industry. As these established chains struggle, new concepts and innovations are emerging, continuing the evolution of how Americans dine out. The next few years will be crucial for these chains as they navigate challenges ranging from inflation and labor costs to changing consumer preferences and technological disruption. While some may find ways to reinvent themselves, others will likely join the growing list of once prominent restaurant chains that have disappeared from America's dining landscape.